Welcome to Scoreography, a podcast about the greatest sport on ice, figure skating. I'm Wendy Buskey.
And I'm Adrian Buskey, and this is our Skate America 2024 preview.
Woo! We're upon the Grand Prix at last.
Yeah, so now we're in the real thick of things. So this is going to be a hopefully pretty fast, pretty loose lead up to Skate America, which, as we noted at the end of our previous episode, we should be at in person, in the real human space.
In the real world.
Yeah, so barring any complications leading up to it, Wendy and I should be on site for the entire event, outside the practices and stuff. We're pretty hyped to be, actually, this will be our first Grand Prix, the first time actually being in person in one of these.
Yes, and I'm throwing a shout out that she will probably never hear to our dear friend Sarah, who will be house sitting and dog sitting, taking care of the things at home so as to allow us to attend Skate America in Allen, Texas.
Yeah, so if you are a Scoreography listener and you will be at the event, we'd love to talk to you. We'll post ourselves, our actual for really real faces and stuff on the Instagram at some point so that you'll know who to look for. The one thing I will note, and I said this at the end of the last one too, is that we are traveling with Wendy's brother, who is a disabled adult, and he will be with us at a couple of the events, not at all of them. He's a introverted individual, and it can be a little stressful for him to have a lot of personal interaction. He's good in the crowds at the shows and stuff. So if you do happen to see us, and it's the two of us along with kind of a short guy.
With a short guy.
Well, I'm very tall. He's 5'2", right? So
yes.
If you see 6'1" me and 5'2" him, that is John, and that is probably not the best time to approach us. It's not off limits per se, but it is just a little more awkward as we're trying to manage his experience of it, because again, the events can be a little overwhelming. But otherwise, we would love to meet you guys because, like we said in the last episode, our friends in real life don't know anything about skating.
No, they don't.
They're very appreciative of what we do, but they don't have any idea what's going on. So
no, there's a few that occasionally will text me that they saw something and they're very excited, which is always very heartening to me. But yes, it would be awesome to talk to people about skating who also love skating. So please, if you see either one of us on our own or just the two of us together, please say hello. Well, let's talk about who we are excited to see at Skate America. And I'm assuming who everyone at home watching will be excited to see, since these events will actually be aired on Peacock and USA and NBC, I believe. There is a whole social media post that outlines all of your viewing schedule for the Grand Prix. So thankfully, we are going to see things that aren't just random searches on YouTube to find whatever is the best version of a program.
Right. But if we jump right into, let's just start off with the men. Especially since this is Skate America and it is, an event here in the U.S. We have our reigning national champion, reigning world champion, Ilya Malinin, will be here. That's, for a lot of the U.S. fans, is going to be one of the big marquee things, is just seeing him out there.
For sure.
And what we've already seen from him on the Challenger Series so far, which is just one event, but was really, really impressive.
Super impressive. I expect we will not see a quad axel here because, frankly, the competition it's a really good field, but he doesn't need it. Even at their best, no matter how good they are, if he is even remotely clean, he does not need a quad axel.
I think the only competitor here who can legitimately put some pressure on Ilya is maybe Cal Mira.
Yeah.
And Cal from Japan, Cal Mira, is capable of dynamite performances. He has not looked great so far in the Challenger Series, but we've really only seen him once. Cal goes back and forth between being a powerful skater with incredible jumps and being kind of a wild guy who can have programs that get way out of hand if he doesn't have control over himself. So we won't know what version of Cal Mira shows up at this event until he's there, but he's the one guy who has the technical ability to push Ilya amongst this field, but we just don't know which version of him shows up.
Even at Cal's best, he's not going to push a perfect Ilya, but Ilya has bad days too. He is a human being. So I think that you're right. He's the most likely to put any pressure on him. And I'd say the other two to keep an eye on would be Georgia's Nika Adgadze, because he does have big jumps. And depending on the day, Kevin Amos.
Right. Yeah. So Francis Kevin Amos last year at Skate America was incredible.
Brilliant.
And his bolero there should be iconic. However, he peaked at that event. And
for the season,
For the
yes.
season. The rest of that season got progressively worse as it went along and ended pretty disastrously. He seems like he's got his mental game back together. He seems very positive. He's back on the circuit after pulling out of Worlds last year. What we've seen of him in the preseason, there was just like a smaller French event. He still looked a little unpolished and wasn't quite up to like what we know he's capable of. When he's on, Kevin is one of the most beautiful skaters in the world.
Easily.
But he definitely didn't look that way through a lot of the last season. So what I'm just hoping is a return to form, and that Skate America treated him so well last time that he comes in ready to give another performance.
That's exactly my hope. Selfishly, I missed that Bolero in person last year. I want to see it. I want to see something wonderful here from him this year because he is absolutely capable of it. Other competitors to keep an eye on here, Koshiro Shimada. We haven't seen him yet this season. I'm very curious to see what his programs look like. Denis Vasilyevs. I was so impressed with him at Shanghai Trophy. His competition so far this season, he's just looked happier and his jumps have looked better and just more confident. So I'm excited to see what he brings to Skate America.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen him be on the podium twice so far, and I'm just really just excited to see him live because I just really enjoy Denis. He is such a great skater.
And I think he could be a podium threat here.
Absolutely. I mean, just looking at this group of men here, like it could go a lot of different directions. But I think that Denis has been, so far this season, pretty consistent, and I think he could show up there. But I think if there's a highlight that I think the crowd is going to be really, really excited for, it's Donovan Carrillo from Mexico.
I was just going to say that just because I think the person I'm most excited to see at Skate America live is Donovan.
He's going to tear that place up.
I know.
That crowd's going to be hyped for him.
God, I hope he has two good skates. They don't have to be flawless. I just want him to show up and just put out all of that charisma that he has because he has bundles and oodles and all of it. Just so much charisma.
Yeah, Donovan ended last season really strong. Landed much higher in the rankings than anybody really would have expected. I think his coaching situation in Canada has really gelled and his team is working out well. He's got so much potential, but he is just one of the most charming, engaging skaters. I often think of him as the male version of like a Katerina Kurtakova in the sense that like there's just like nobody in the men that have as much personality and vibe as he has. So super hyped for him. You know, there are other people like Wesley Chu who is capable of brilliance and is a little uneven sometimes, but came back strong at the end of last season. The other American guys, Lucas Broussard actually won a
Cranberry Cup.
So he's coming in on a podium win. And Maxim Naumov is a wild card. Sometimes Maxime is great, sometimes not so much. I like his skating a lot.
I like Max Naumov in general.
Yeah, I think when I've seen Max in like exhibitions is when I actually see who he really is as a skater. And I'm hoping he brings the energy that he has in gala skates to his performances in the competition because I think that would really benefit him. I like that dude a lot. I would just like to see him perform at a higher level than maybe we've seen before.
Agreed. Well, let's move on to the pairs, where I think we're going to see a really tight competition between three teams. We have our former world champions, Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara, which admittedly I am so excited to see in person that I genuinely have to believe that they may not show up because I'm too excited.
That's my worry too. I'm trying not to get excited about seeing them because I love this team so much. Emotionally, they're one of the teams that is most effective for me. But yeah, I'm kind of terrified, especially after the outing that we saw earlier in the Challenger Series where Ryuichi had an injury that left him in a ton of pain at the end of their free skate. And the challenges that they've had with injury, like I'm so terrified that they just won't show up. That really scares me. So
I don't know how many people out there listening actually do the same thing where they like, that might not really happen just so that your heart doesn't get broken.
But they would be the team that I would expect in the top spot if they're at their highest level. However, you have really strong challengers in Georgia's Anastasia Metlkina and Luka Brlava.
That's exactly who I'm thinking are their biggest competition here. We have not seen them yet in the Challenger Series, so we don't know what they look like so far. Worlds didn't go the way I think they thought it would, but they had a great season overall last year, and they could absolutely take this on the right day.
What I think was problematic for Metlkina and Brlava last season was that they peaked at the wrong time.
Yeah.
I think that they peaked just ahead of Junior Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they won it in a little bit of a sloppy fashion that they clearly were not satisfied with. And then in senior worlds, they were a little underwhelming based on how good they had been earlier in the season. As a team, they're really well matched and they can do some amazing stuff. I would think they will be pretty formidable and they will put up a very, very strong challenge for the top of the podium here.
The other, I would expect, podium threat is Maria Pavlova and Alexei Svievchenko. We've seen quite a lot of them already this season in the Challenger Series and at the Shanghai Trophy. We know their programs. I hope we see the best version of it so far here.
They were pretty bad at Shanghai.
But they were good before that.
Yes, they won Shanghai, but in a field that was terribly messy for the pairs. I always talk about the fact that this is a formidable technical team. They have some of the best jumps of any of the pairs teams. You know, they lack a little bit in the artistic end of things, but you can never count them out. If they perform the way they did at Shanghai, I wouldn't expect them to be on this podium here. But we don't know how they'll show up. We only have kind of 2 data points for how they've performed so far, and they were much better than their first outing. But in general, I think they're a really strong team, and if they get it back together, they're serious podium threats here.
Yeah, because obviously anything can change on any given day. I feel like the only other team that could possibly take that third spot away from them on that podium would be Ellie Kam and Danny O'Shea on the right day. Our U.S. national champions who have had a relatively good start to their season.
Looking far stronger this season. In particular, big improvement from Ellie in her landings. She just really struggled to stay up last season, and that was always a thorn in their side. She is looking stronger and more consistent with it. They definitely had troubles with some other side-by-sides, and there's a little bits and pieces of problems in their free skate. But what they showed with a much stronger resiliency in the early part of this season, if they've continued to iron out those problems and get those programs working better, you know, we've already seen them post some of their best scores that they've ever done. So I think they could very much be in the running for the podium here if they're keeping on their feet.
Particularly in the throws.
Yes.
Outside of them, we are going to see Anastasia and Vipian Law and Luke Digby from Great Britain. They could surprise us. They are a solid team that seems to keep improving. I'm curious to see how they do.
I think Vipian Law and Digby are one of those teams. I always think of as competent. They're a strong team. They've got some good technical. They never really shine in the way that you think higher caliber teams do. I think they're capable of it. I just really haven't seen it. But again, on the right day, I think they could be well placed here.
Yeah. The other team that could surprise us here is Efimova and Mitrofanov from the U.S. They've had a few competitions under their belt this season so far, and they look to be a promising team. So who knows? We could see something great here from them.
I think Misha is a really, really strong partner. I think Elyce, she has the fire, that spark of star power that I really like seeing from her because she's a very emotive skater. She brings a lot emotionally to it. She does struggle to stay up. So if she can keep on her feet, I think that they could have potential here, but I think it really depends on just how clean they can skate, which is, you know, consistent across to everybody here, especially in pairs. I wouldn't expect a podium spot for them here, but we've seen a lot of these pairs teams are really inconsistent. So it could switch up a ton based on how they perform at this event. I mean, it's the first Grand Prix event, so it's a different level of pressure here. So it'll be really interesting to see how they all respond to it.
Well, let's move on to the women's field, which is a pretty deep field. I can't even say who I would think is the favorite.
There's so many skaters that I'm excited to see in this lineup that I'm so hyped. I think your obvious starter here is Isabeau Levito because she is your world silver medalist. She had a really nice comeback at the end of last season after some pretty scratchy events at the Grand Prix final and U.S. Nationals. What we've seen from her in the early Challenger Series so far this season has been a little uneven. She's clearly been trying to get under the skin of those programs and get them put together and refined, but she seems to be in a really good mental place. Some of her jumps have not worked quite as well as, you know, I'm sure she would like them to. And we're always a little bit worried about that because that really seemed to be an issue at the end of last season. But Isabeau is such a fierce competitor, so brilliant artistically. And so if she can hold her technical together and deliver a lot more of like what we were seeing early last season from her.
Or at Worlds,
because she was great at Worlds. She would be your sort of obvious choice for the top spot. But there are some really strong competitors here.
We have Nina Pinsarone from Belgium, who we haven't seen yet this season.
Yeah.
she was definitely throwing out some warnings to everyone last year's, both vocally and with her performances, that she's coming. Depending on the day, she could absolutely be a threat. And I actually definitely think she is a podium threat here.
Yes. Well, we don't have anything to go on so far this season from Nina. She's a fierce competitor. She was growing so much. She had a tough Worlds because she was suffering from some sort of injury. She had like a massive nosebleed. She fell down the stairs or something like while she was there. That really had a big impact on her at Worlds, unfortunately, because I really thought that she was going to be a more powerful threat at that event. But she is a strong skater. She's a young skater, so she has a lot of room for growth and development at this point. But she's got that real kind of eye of the tiger kind of thing going for her. And also, it's worth noting that in her country, the superstar is Luna Hendricks, and Luna has not started this season out very well and also had a really bad Worlds. So Nina has been very open about the fact that she's basically coming for Luna's throne, and I expect her to go in here very fierce.
But if I'm being completely honest, the person I'm most curious to see is Wakaba Higuchi from Japan.
Waka baby.
I adore her. And last season, she was, kind of coming back from an injury and taking her time and progressing as she needed to. But she looked steady and she kept looking better with each competition. And after a summer away, I am just really curious because we have to go back a few years and remember that she was at the last Olympics in Beijing. And she looked phenomenal there. And there is this part of me that's like, is this when we start seeing that Wakaba come back?
She, in that prime of her skating, was phenomenal. She's such an enjoyable skater. She's such a warm, wonderful personality.
Oh, yeah.
And she is in a deep field of Japanese women. And so she has to kind of reassert herself. But I am excited to see what she brings to the table. It's also worth noting, we mentioned Isabeau from the US, but Isabeau's been beat twice so far in this Challenger season, and once by Elyce Lin-Gracey, who now has been a silver and a gold medalist on the Challenger series. Elyce Lin-Gracey has looked fabulous so far this season. I have not really seen her at this caliber of competition before. She just got added to Skate Canada. So the American Federation clearly has some excitement about her and feels that promise of how well she's done so far. So we don't know how she'll do at this kind of big pressure situation, but what we've seen from Elyce so far this season has been fabulous.
Yes, it'll be interesting with her being at Skate America and then the following week at Skate Canada. It's a lot of pressure, so I'm hoping we see great things.
Some skaters work really well on that kind of momentum, and others it's very hard on. So it'll be interesting to see, but I'm really hoping that the version of her that we just saw earlier in the Challenger shows up here, because Elyce could take the whole thing.
She could.
It's entirely possible for her to do that.
On the right day, we could also say the same thing about Bradie Tennell.
Yeah.
Depending on which version of Bradie Tennell we see. It is entirely within her reach to take this whole competition. At Shanghai Trophy, she looked solid. Not enough where I'd say she'd probably be a podium threat, but not necessarily a winner here. But I think she's in the mix.
Bradie is such a steady competitor, and she is also, much like Wakaba, a veteran competitor who has been through a lot of big international competition. This is nothing new for Bradie Tennell. So she's going to navigate this space mentally in a different way than a lot of the younger skaters are going to. I think that positions her well to go out there and deliver a very solid program. What we saw from her at Shanghai was a Bradie returning to form, looking a lot more like she has in the past as she's been recovering from injury. And the Benoit programs look strong on her. So yeah, I mean, you can never count Bradie out.
But you have two other extraordinary Japanese women in Rinka Watanabe and Yuna Aoki here. And I know just by looking at Adrian's face that he is giddy that these two women are going to be here.
Oh my God. So I am such a fanboy for the Japanese Federation in general. Rinka Watanabe is somebody who I've loved for years. She has such a distinct personality on the ice. She has triple axels. They don't always land, but she always goes for them. She just delivers really interesting programs with just such a particular point of view that I really like. She is inconsistent. She can Zamboni the ice sometimes, but I think Rinka is always exciting to watch. And again, is a veteran competitor who's been on the scene for a long time and is not new to any of this. But if there's somebody that I'm so hyped for, it's Yuna Aoki.
Absolutely. No matter what happens on that podium, I'm just thrilled to get to be in the building to watch her. It's somebody who I really haven't even known about that long, even though she's been around for quite a while. Personally, I just had not been paying attention. Shame on me. And now I just think of as one of the most captivating skaters out there.
Yes. What we watched of her from Challenge Cup last year was like one of those breakthrough moments that happened at such a small event that it's easy to forget about because it was not internationally broadcast. But her interpretation of the music, her lyricism, the fact that she choreographs a lot of her own work and does it so beautifully, she was really on the fence about whether or not she would continue competing this season or if she would just retire and then move into like choreography or something. Thankfully, she's still at it. We've seen a little bit of her from a small Japanese competition. She was already looking lovely. As far as where she could land on the podium here or in the rankings, I really don't even know how to quantify it, but I just know that I'm really excited to see what she brings to the table.
Not for nothing, we're also going to see Olga Mitelkina, Leah Serna, who we haven't seen yet this season from France, Mi-jae Kim from Korea, Olivia Kaiser. It's going to be an interesting lineup in general. I think there's a lot of different ways this could shake out.
Overall, I think this is a really cool lineup. There's a lot of great skaters in here, and it could go a lot of different directions. So I have no idea how this is going to go.
Well, let's finish this up with dance, which I think we all know the marquee here and the very obvious gold medal favorites will be Madison Chock and Evan Bates, our reigning two-time world champions, now Olympic gold medalists. We haven't seen anything, not even a hint about their programs yet, because they don't do that.
They don't do that.
They drop the programs like they're hot at Skate America. That is what they do because they are Chock and Bates. So I'm psyched to see what they come up with.
So the thing with Chock and Bates is that they give you no hints. They drop it on you at the first big Grand Prix event. But sometimes those programs are not right yet. You know, we've seen them.
That's true.
They always deliver them well because they're a great team. But we've seen in a couple of different seasons where they've had programs that they came out with very excited about and then just didn't land right.
And some of those just went away.
But what we've seen with that team is that they will always iterate. They will always fix. They take the assignment seriously. They get the notes and they work. Now, last year, I mean, like by the time they showed up with that Queen rhythm dance, which was just extraordinary.
So good.
I'm so mad we didn't see that live. They came out at the gate really strong last year with that. It's hard telling because they're such an avant-garde team in a lot of ways. They will try new things. They don't play it safe. So we could get something that's really extraordinary, or we could get something that's not quite ready for prime time that they'll refine over the course of the season. But in general, they're always so good that whatever we get is going to be interesting.
Their biggest competition, without a doubt here, is the Disco Brits themselves, Lila Fear and Lewis Gibson, which I had forgotten they were going to be participating in Skate America. So I'm excited I get to see them live. It'll be very curious. I really like their rhythm dance this season. I was not as impressed with their free dance. So I'm curious to see if they've iterated since the first time we saw them.
Yeah, I'm a little lukewarm on their material this season, but I will say that if there's any crowd, any locale that should be really receptive to the Disco Brits, it's an American audience. I'm hoping that we get a really good crowd for Skate America. It can be a real crapshoot here in the States about how many people actually show up for events, but it's the right kind of place for Fear and Gibson to come and do that specific Fear and Gibson thing. I just wish there was more identity to that free dance. Maybe there will be by the time we see it. It's technically beautiful and they do some really amazing stuff with it, but it doesn't hit me the way last year's did. So I'm hoping that will be better by the time we see them.
We are also going to see Laurent and Lagach from Canada. I expect them, if we're just basing it on point expectations that they are capable of, they would be the third tier of that podium coming in. That doesn't mean that's where they're going to land, but that's the expectation. And personally, I am a big fan of theirs. They are so avant-garde and different and quirky. We saw early iterations of their programs that I wasn't as excited about, but knowing this team, we're going to see an evolved version of that here.
They're some of the best character ice dancers. They really tell a story. They're so idiosyncratic. I like that team a lot. The early stuff we saw was real rough, but they've had time because that's been a while since we saw those performances. So I think they will have cleaned that up a lot. It's going to be weird, man. Like they're they're
That
kind
is
of
one thing you can count on
they're
with them.
kind of a strange team, but that's what I'm here for. That's what I like about them.
I think that after that, it's kind of a crapshoot because we have the Czech team of Matzakova and Mracek, who are excellent, like great team, but don't always connect emotionally.
Yeah, we talked about that in the last episode, that they're a sibling team, that they have such a sort of uniform personality and style that it can lose a little bit of that, I don't know, emotional connection sometimes, but they are technically so good. They're so fast. And they're an exciting team. They always do interesting stuff. So I'm looking forward to see I'm really interested to see what that feels like live.
Then we have the season debut of Diana Davis and Gleb Smokin from Georgia, who aren't a team that ever particularly stand out to me. But Gleb is a great ice dance partner. I will give him full credit for that. Diana always feels like she's chasing him a bit because she's not as strong as he is. So we'll see how they do. I don't expect podium, but I'm just personally excited to see Olivia Smart and Tim Deek. I just really like this team a lot, and I'm curious to see how that Dune program may have changed since we saw it the first time.
Yeah, their free dance to the Dune soundtrack was beautifully constructed, but it had a lift that went disastrously for them. It's an ambitious lift, and I'll be curious to see if it remains or if they make some changes to it. There were other little technical bobbles that they had that wasn't quite refined. I like this team a lot together.
I love this team.
I like their personality. They're also kind of a quirky team. They bring a different vibe. I thought their rhythm dance is one of the more fun that we've seen so far.
I like it a lot.
And yeah, I'm hoping that they've got that fixed up because I like them a lot. And I want them to get some more respect because I feel like they live under the shadow of how good Olivia was with Adrian, her previous partner. And because their team is just so different, her connection with Tim and how they skate and what they do is just so radically different. I feel like a lot of people find it kind of jarring. I like it a lot, but yeah, hopefully they show up here looking a lot stronger.
And then we're seeing the Grand Prix debut as well here from two teams fresh out of juniors, Chachenko and Kilikov from Israel, who are an exciting team, and the junior Grand Prix champions and junior world champions from the U.S., Leah Nisset and Artem Markelov.
Nisset and Markelov were like a wrecking ball in juniors last year. They just creamed everybody that they encountered. They are an extremely strong technical team that can do some pretty wild acrobatic stuff that like very few other dance teams come anywhere near. I think maybe Zingis and Kolsnik are in that category a little bit, but there's just stuff that Leah can do shape-wise and flexibility-wise that's wild. They did look a little vulnerable early in the Challenger Series this season, more so than I would have expected. But they have the potential to be really exciting. But I'm honestly kind of more interested to see Tachenko and Kilikov. They were so unique last season in juniors. Their programs were extremely character-driven, extremely ambitious. And
she's a star.
Yes. Well, there's no holds barred for this group. When they go into the thematic, they don't pull punches at all. They're like fully committed. And yeah, Elizabeth is particularly one of those people you just can't take your eyes off of. She's so dynamic. But yeah, for both of those teams coming out of juniors where they were both real standouts last season and then coming into, ice dance, which is so hierarchical, where you most of the time get shifted right to the bottom.
I don't think they will, though.
Especially Nisset and Markelov, I've sort of expected to jump right to at least the sort of middle of the pack. But it's all going to really depend on, what they deliver here.
Well, exactly. And also, there is so much depth just in the U.S. I still don't even expect them to make the world team for a couple of years.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of time for them. They're a very young team. And yeah, it's going to take a little bit.
Well, that is what we are going to see. I am so curious to watch it live and then come back and watch it again and hear commentary. Because I haven't had that experience in many, many years. The last competition I went to was with you in 2008. It was
men's nationals.
U.S. Nationals, just the men's final. So it's been a long time. And I don't know, I'm just very excited, especially now that we are doing this show and analyzing it as in depth as we are, just to see the difference from what happens live to what you see on your screen.
Yeah. So I want to know podium predictions. Like 1, 2, 3, each category.
Oh, I was not prepared.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we're going to go pure gut here. We'll be so wrong. It'll be great. But starting with the men, who's your podium?
Podium for Skate America men is Ilya Malinin gold. Then why not? I'm going to go Nika Agatse for silver and then Kalmira for bronze.
Okay. I'm going to go Ilya Malinin gold, Denis Vasilyev's silver, and Kalmira in bronze. That's my expectation for that one.
All right.
Pairs.
Pairs, I'm giving it to Rika and Ryu because I love them dearly. With the gold, then Metzalkina and Brulava for silver, and Cam and O'Shea, bronze.
I'm going very similar, but I'm switching it up. I'm expecting, based on no data at all, Metzalkina and Brulava to take it. I expect Miura and Kihara to be in silver. I'm just basing this on health. I'm hoping to be wrong because they're my favorite team there. I would like to see them on top, but I'm hedging my bets on it. And then, Cam and O'Shea in bronze. That's my expectation.
And now the Hungarians are going to win it all.
They could show up. Yeah, Pavlova and Shevchenko could have gotten their stuff together.
They're going to listen to this. She's going to be so mad.
She's so fierce.
I love it.
Maria Pavlova is going to come to prove to us that we were wrong.
And I invite her to. I want
you to.
Hilarious. I would love it.
Yes.
Okay, women.
This one is tough because I feel like it's going to be surprising, but I don't know what that means.
You're stalling.
I'm stalling because I don't know. I'm like, and I feel like if I don't say Isabeau will be gold, that there will be people in the comments telling me to shut my mouth because I'm wrong. And I've been wrong before about Isabeau in these situations. She rises to the occasion.
She does, especially in big competitions.
But Elyce has been so good so far, but I just don't know how she'll react in this kind of situation. I'll never put it past Nina Pizzaroni to just show up and be amazing. I don't know. I don't have any idea.
You're not even going to try?
You give me yours and I'll come back.
Oh my God. Lame. All right. I am just going to say gold. I'm giving it to Isabeau Levito. Silver, I'm going to put around the neck of Rinko Watanabe, and bronze, Nina Pizzaroni.
Okay. I'm going to mess it up here. I'm going to go Elyce Lin-Gracey in gold because I have confidence in her that she can do it.
I want to believe. Sure.
I'm going to throw Nina Pizzaroni in silver and put Isabeau in third. And I'll put that as a challenge to Isabeau to prove me wrong and come out there and be the champion that we know that she is. And so that people can tell me in the comments what an idiot I am after the fact when she proves me wrong. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That one's going to be wild.
All right. With the dance, I feel like we've left sort of the easiest one for the last because I'm just going to say Chalk and Bates gold, Fear and Gibson silver, and Laurent and Lecach bronze.
I'm going Chalk and Bates gold, Fear and Gibson in silver, but I will say the Czech team of Mrskova and Mrazek will come in the bronze position here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, then. Are you guys as ready for Skate America as we are? I mean, I shouldn't ask that question now that I know that we're actually getting on a plane to go to the thing. So are you excited? Maybe I'll leave it there.
Yeah. What are your podium predictions? Like, how far off or on the money do you think we are?
I'm sure we're way off.
The podium, obviously, is a big damn deal, but we also just hope for great performances from everybody.
Oh, my God. All I want is a brilliant performance from Donovan Creo.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I want everybody to go out there and make it so darn hard on each other because they all skate up to their maximum potential that it's a wild card of everybody just showing up, giving us their best stuff. I just want a great performance.
I want a perfect Kevin Amos.
Oh my God. Yeah. I want people to keep their butts off the ice and to do the best job they can. And I want to lose my mind in the audience over the whole thing. That's what I want to see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys let us know in the comments what you are expecting, what you want to see, who's you're most excited about. Tell us who your podium picks are. You're going to have a pretty short turnaround time to do it because this is going to happen really fast. And then afterwards, in the aftermath of it, you can tell us how wrong we were or laud us for our prescience over the right picks. Who knows? We'll see what happens with it. So the next episode after this should be our Skate America wrap up. And it'll be a different one because we'll be talking about our experiences there as well as the competition. But anyway, the Grand Prix series is on, my friends. So now things get real in the world of figure skating. So for Scoreography. I'm Adrian Buskey.
And I'm Wendy Buskey.
We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.